Hello, my name's Roger and I'm a chef with UK Harvest Food Rescue Charity.
My name's Simon and I've just had a really good message to say one of our food donations has just arrived for the food rescue, so I'm going to have to leave it to you,
Roger.
go then,
Simon.
I look forward to trying it later.
Fantastic, fantastic. Right, well, we're going to be making mushroom soup today with garlic croutons. Okay, so to make our soup, we're going to need 500 millilitres of vegetable stock, either in block or cube form. We're going to need a stick of celery, a couple of leeks, a whole onion, 4 cloves of garlic, about 50 grams of butter. We're going to need a couple of sprigs of thyme. We're going to need some mushrooms, mixed mushrooms, about 100 millilitres of milk, and we're going to need some salt and pepper. The first ingredient we're going to prep are the leeks. So to prep the leeks, first of all, we're going to remove these green ends. You can keep these green ends for making a stock later with. Next, we split the leeks through the middle. Now we're going to take those over to the sink and give them a good wash. Okay, so now we just take our leek, and because we've only sort of cut it halfway through, it's holding itself all together, and we're just going to wash quickly between the leaves. Just washing any loose soil that may have got trapped in there. Now we're back to the chopping board. All we need to do is just cut down along lengthways through the leek. Very simply does it. Everything's holding together still. Now when we're cutting, we always have our fingers behind the blade, and we just gently move our fingers back as we're chopping. Next, we're just going to take our celery and we're just going to quickly cut it lengthways into 2 strips. This isn't science, it's just simple cutting. Obviously, we've given this a good wash as well, just to get any gritty bits out, and then just simply finally chop everything up. Okay, so next we're going to take our onion, just a medium-sized plain white onion, and we're going to quickly remove the skin. Leaving the root on, because the root is the thing that holds it all together while you're chopping. As you see, I left the root intact. Simply put it on the chopping board, cut it through the half, and next, looking at the lines, the natural lines that appear on the onion, you just sort of follow them down. Just cutting through. I'm not cutting right the way through to the root end, but cutting through. Next, you do a horizontal cut, 2 or 3, and then finally down with a vertical cut. You want to do this with both halves. Just take our 4 garlic cloves, just trim off anything that's a little bit untoward, and then very simply we chop it up. I always slice things through first of all. And then just simply bring it together and a quick rough chop. Because we're going to be pureeing this, you don't need to go too fine. That's enough. So now I'm just going to take my mushrooms and just give them a very quick slice up. Again, being careful with my fingers, keeping them always behind the blade. Slice away until you've got everything chopped. It doesn't really matter whether you've got mixed mushrooms, it all adds to the flavour. Notice I'm using the whole mushroom. I haven't even worried about peeling them. there we have our basic ingredients. Okay, so now we've got our saucepan on the medium heat, and now we're going to add our butter. Very quickly, we're going to add our veg into that. We need to cook this out for about 3 or 4 minutes until our onions and leek have taken on a glassy kind of appearance. Then they'll be cooked through. Okay, so after 4 or 5 minutes, we can see that the onions are already sort of taken on a lovely transparent quality that shows that they're nice, tender and cooked. And we're all ready to start adding the mushrooms. So mushrooms go in, and we start pulling the leaves off the thyme. You really don't want the stalks going in, but try not to let that happen. But smelling good already. Just really want the little leaves going in. Any bigger bits will get broken up when we start to blitz it, but ideally just the small leaves, not these stalks. Great, so give that a little turn around, and still on a medium heat, just let that cook down again for another 5 minutes. Looking good already, smelling good already. Okay, so the mushrooms have had a good 5 minutes to cook. Hopefully you can see now that they've kind of melded down in the oniony, leaky kind of mix. So now we're just going to add our stock and milk. Straight in with the stock, followed by the milk. The milk is really there just to sort of enrichen the thing, just help give it a bit more flavour. So I'm going to really pump up the heat now and get it to the boil. Okay, so you can see now that it's come right up to the boil. So we're just going to sort of turn it down a little bit just to bring it to a simmer. You always want to bring things up to the boil just so that you know that initially it has hit that temperature range. But as I said, we're going to turn it down to a simmer, and we're just going to let that cook for about 15 minutes. As you can see, smaller bubbles, not being so violent. Yeah, and it's cooking nice and gently away now. So as I said, 15 minutes, and then we're ready to blitz it. Carry this over to a safe spot, and we're going to start blending. So take your stick blender, sink it right to the bottom of your pan, raise it up a little bit, tilt it up a little bit, ensuring though that you keep it to the bottom of the pan, and start blitzing away. Okay, so at this point, after a couple of minutes blitzing, you can see you've got a lovely, beautiful puree. So I'm now just going to quickly test for seasoning. Not bad at all. Quite often the stock is already a little bit kind of salty, so be aware. Do most of your seasoning right at the end of the dish. A little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper. We'll just give it a 30-second whiz around. And that's that. Now for the croutons. First of all, we're going to quickly remove the crust from the outside of our pieces of bread. Quickly zip those off. And then dice our bread up. We're just aiming for something like a centimetre cube. We've got a couple of cloves of garlic. We're just going to put a couple of tablespoonfuls of oil into that. Just give it a little stir up. Put that into our oven tray. And then mix our bread into that. Give it a little stir up. We go straight into an oven set for 200 degrees. Nice hot oven. Give that a good 5 minutes and then we'll check it. Oh, they're looking lovely. So, pour straight into a bowl just to sort of hold for a while. You could make these in advance and store them for a good 5-6 days in a nicely sealed tub. That's the croutons done. Okay, great, and now to bowl up. So a couple of hearty ladlefuls. Oh, look at that. Great. Good old sprinkle of our lovely garlicky croutons. And away we go. Mmm. Delicious. Yeah. I might save a bowl of this for Simon.